Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Influence Economy. I'm your host, Shayna Davis. I'm glad you're here, but before we get started, I actually would love if you would do me a favor. Wherever you're listening to this episode, I want you to take a screenshot. And with that screenshot, I want you to do a couple of things. Post it on your social media, tag us here at Shayna Rattler Davis. And then I just want to hear your biggest aha or your biggest takeaway from this episode. And the reason why I do that is not because I care so much about downloads. If I'm being honest, I don't even know how many downloads I've had at this point, nor do I really care. But what I do care about is that I've noticed that far too many women are living beneath their profit potential and everybody doesn't know where to start. And so the more times that these episodes have been shared, the more people that can actually be exposed to the shifts that are going to be required in order for them to be able to own their influence. So I appreciate you in advance for being willing to share that. I am going to read my guest's bio and then we're going to get started. What I know is going to be another great conversation. My guest today is a business advisor who provides outside perspective and unwavering accountability. She's also the one to ask the hard questions others won't. After 4 decades of working across 47 plus industries, she has learned that marketing and sales have built in feedback loops. You know quickly if they're working. She works with women who appear successful but are privately wondering how long they can maintain their current pace before something breaks. Her clients are doing all the right things, yet finding themselves overwhelmed and secretly questioning if this is what success is supposed to feel like. Through her personalized approach, she helps entrepreneurs identify bottlenecks others miss and build businesses that perform well without consuming their lives. If you want to find out more, you can also check out her podcast that is called The Business You Really Want. And that's where her and her co host have real conversations about achieving sustainable success without sacrificing what matters most. Well, I am excited to welcome to the show Gwen Bortner.
Thank you so much for having me, Shayna. I am so excited to be here and to be a guest on your podcast.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to this conversation as well. I've never in my history of, I've been podcasting now for over 5 years. I've been featured in over 500 media outlets, and I've never heard a topic on this conversation, nor have I had it on my show. So I'm really looking forward to peeling back the curtain, especially when I read in your bio things like, we're doing all the things, but we're still not getting the results. And I feel like nowadays, as entrepreneurs, especially if your clients are other entrepreneurs or individual consumers, there's so many things, when we're talking about doing all the things, there's so many things that we can be doing. And many of us are doing all of those things, but still just not getting those results. So I'm really looking forward to unpacking this conversation so we can get people to the point that they're actually not living beneath their profit potential because I'm a little fired up about that.
And it's one of the reasons you and I were able to connect very, very quickly because
Very
me
quickly.
too.
Yes, very quickly. So, Gwen, you have a statement that self accountability is a lie. And so,
I
I would
do.
love if you would unpack exactly what it is that you mean by that.
I love that we're starting there because self accountability is actually reliability.
Mm,
Okay. So being reliable is one thing, and there's a lot of people who are reliable. But accountability, if you really look at the definition of accountability, you can't do it by yourself because it's about reporting to somebody else.
mm,
It's about having a conversation about what you're doing, what you're not doing, the decisions that you're making, the thoughts behind them, and analyzing them and doing a reflective process. And although we can do some degree of that in our head, we can't really do it effectively without another person in the process. And so when we talk about being self-accountable, I really think what we're talking about is being reliable.
yeah, yeah. And what are some of the signs that we're relying too much on that and it's actually keeping us stuck?
Well, the challenge is you can't see the label from inside the jar,
I say that.
right? And so so when you're in that situation, it's hard to know whether you're telling yourself the story that you want to hear that reinforces the story that you want to hear. Um, and it's really about, is there someone else in your world? And it doesn't matter who they are. It can be a spouse. It's often not a spouse. It can be a family member. It's often not a family member. It can be someone who works for you. It's often not a person who works for you. If it's anyone, it's usually a peer outside of your business
Mm,
that's actually asking you really hard questions and making you think really hard about either the things that you are doing or that you're not doing. Because a lot of times we think accountability is like, did I do it or not do it? And
yeah.
that's just task management.
And who cares?
Right. Kind of who cares? I mean, sometimes we care because it's
Yeah.
actually stuff that needs to get
But
done.
it's not the biggest thing that we should care about.
No, it's not. It's more about, are we doing the right things? Are we doing them for the right reason? Are we doing them at the right time? And if we're not, what's preventing us from doing them? Sometimes what's preventing us from doing them is they actually are on our what I call the should list,
Mm,
right? The should list being someone said you should do it, and so you decide that you should do it, and so you're should doing the thing. And it's like, maybe I don't actually need to do it. So sometimes the reason we're not doing it is it actually doesn't even need to be on the list. Those
yeah.
are my favorite. We just cross them off. Done. Win. But it often is things like, are we actually getting stuck? What's holding us back? How, and having someone who can actually help you think through that
Yeah.
and not do it in a shaming, accusatory, negative kind of way, because that's actually not, I mean, I don't know anybody who actually does well in that situation, right? But I think a lot of times when we think about accountability, that's where our mind goes. We think about the time that someone said, "Well, you should have done it," you know, and it's like, well, that's not exactly helpful, because maybe I know I should have done it, but if I didn't do it, why didn't I do it? What was the thing holding me back? What's that issue? And unless they're actually trying to help you solve that problem in a productive way that you and your mind can actually go for, you're just going to sit there spinning your wheels. And that, to me, that's one of the biggest things I see in people that are getting overwhelmed in their business, is they're in spaces where their wheels are spinning.
Yeah. And I would like to add to that that I think it's equally important to make sure that you have somebody that's making sure you're doing it the right way. Because you talked about, there's some things that we should not be doing, and that just needs to either be delegated or deleted. But then there's other things that we should be doing, and there's this half truth out there that the key to success is consistency. But I'm like, you could be doing, to the point that you made earlier, you could be doing things that you should not be doing consistently, and it's not going to get you good results. Or you could be doing things that you're supposed to be doing, but if you're not doing them in the right way, you can still be doing it consistently and not be getting the results that you're looking for. And so I think that that's another reason why it's so important to have someone to check against that you're speaking about, because it's like, okay, now that I've eliminated the things that I shouldn't do, and I'm focused on the right things, even if they're the right hard things, I want to at least now make sure that I'm doing it the right way.
Well, in a prior life, I was a professional ski instructor, and one of the things that people say all the time is practice makes perfect. Well, that's not actually true, because if you're
Yeah,
practicing bad stance, bad behavior, bad anything else, all you're doing is getting really good at that, not actually becoming a better skier.
right, right. So I'm curious, let's fast forward and say that we found the right person that is helping us focus on the right things, and we're not relying on self accountability and those other things. Like, what's the goal that's on the other side of that? Like, what is I don't want to say the perfection, but what is the end goal? It helps us to be able to do what?
Well, there's several things that I've seen consistently with our clients that use the accountability process that we use with everybody in our team. So, one of the things is they're moving the needle more consistently
Hmm.
throughout their business. And when I say moving the needle, I don't mean just making more money, although you and I both, we're very much about the profit. But in this case, maybe moving the needle is not making more money, but making more profit, right? We're
Yeah.
doing it in the in the right way. We might be making less money, but making more profit, right?
Right.
So it's really that moving the needle, but it's not just doing it. It is back to doing it consistently. So we're not doing this start and stop, kind of thing. It's an ongoing progression. But one of the other things that we're really looking for in this is about I'm going to call it speed of action,
Yeah.
right? Because we're able to continually be adjusting, tweaking, making things happen, getting insights moving forward, and we're able to see lots more transformation, lots more positive movement in a much shorter time frame. One of my clients, when she first started doing the process after 90 days of it, this was an established business owner. This wasn't someone who's like, just started. She'd been in business, I think, 10 years. In this
Hmm.
case, had a retail shop. She'd opened a second retail shop. I mean, like, this woman was successful. And
Yeah.
she said, I got more done in this 90 days than I have in the last 3 years,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Because she knew if she got stuck, there was someone to help her figure out why she was stuck, how to get unstuck. Because she also knew someone else was going to check in on her. But the thing was, what she was working on was not the urgent things, it was the important but not urgent things.
Yeah, that's good.
And those are the ones that get lost if you don't have accountability. The urgent things, the important and urgent things, they always get done,
Right.
right? It's going to happen. But the
Absolutely.
important but not urgent, that's where the tricky bit is.
Yeah. That's so profound. So when you're talking about clients that you've worked with in the past, and let's just stick with this specific client that you were sharing about right now, and you've talked a little bit about the process that you work them through. Can you tell us a little bit about what this accountability process consists of?
Yeah, so the thing in this particular client was she was only using our accountability process, which doesn't have any live interaction with me or anyone else in my team at all.
Hmm.
And that's the thing that throws people off, like, what do you mean? It was
Yeah, I'm
completely
like, I'm
async.
expecting a framework to come into play here.
Yeah, it's completely asynchronous. And it does require that each party is doing their part, but it's not about lots of conversations and lots of pieces. This particular framework we call the weekly course of action.
Okay.
Okay. And what happens with that framework is we're helping our entrepreneurs focus back to what is on that important piece of the list, not all the rest of the stuff. Because
Yeah.
I don't need to help you manage all the
Yeah.
rest of the stuff.
Yeah.
Right? I always use the example of, like, it's never on my list that I'm going to show up for a meeting or a podcast recording or anything
Hmm.
else, because I'm not ever not going to show up unless something drastic is happening, right?
Yeah.
So I don't need that on my task list. Show up for the meeting? No, I don't need that. But do the hard thing that is actually strategic and going to be valuable 3 months from now. Yeah, that's really easy for me to put off till tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. And so what we're doing is helping our entrepreneurs stay focused on those activities throughout our time working with them on a week to week basis. Not that they're getting it all done, but are you taking that step? Are you moving the needle bit by bit by bit by bit? So when you hit the end of the quarter, you've actually accomplished the thing that you're looking for. Because if you could have got it done, on the last day of the month, then you could have had it done by the second day of the month.
Yeah.
Right? But most of the time they can, and then they get frustrated. Oh, I'm a loser. I can't get it done. All of those things, right? But that's not true. It's just we lose track of it until it becomes urgent, and all of a sudden it lands in that urgent category, and now there's not enough space to actually do it.
Yeah. And then the emotion that is built around it now is going to make it even more impossible to get it done or get it done well.
Right. The stories that our head starts telling us about ourselves, the task to be done, the list goes on, is all pretty much fiction, but we're still believing it as truth, right? So that's really what the process is helping, we help them watch and say, hey, we see you haven't made any progress on this thing that you've said is actually important for this quarter. Let's help you think about why that may be.
Right. So if someone is listening to this episode and they're like, I'm doing all the things and not getting the results that I want, I appear to be successful on the outside, but not necessarily by my own, terms or definitions. What's one thing that everyone can begin to do today or this week or sometime within the near future to begin to accomplish some of the results that you shared?
I'm going to give you two things if
Okay,
that's
perfect.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
perfect.
So the
Girl.
first thing is you've got to get really clear on what you actually want, not
Mm,
what you think you're supposed to want, not what social media has told you so that that success is, etc. And that sounds easy enough, but it
yeah,
is
'cause it's like, how do
really,
I
really
decide?
hard.
Yeah, I've had people, I've said that to people before. I'm like, well, what do you really want? And they're like, I don't even know how to decide. I don't even know what to take into consideration to determine that.
Yeah, it's a lot of self-reflection
Yeah.
to really get clear on what that means. I've got a friend, Nick Peterson, and what he talks about is when you get clear, are you taking actions that actually line up with that thing? The easiest example is I want to spend more time with my kids. So are
Yeah.
you actually making decisions today that give you more time with your kids today? Right? As opposed to, I'm going to take this big contract that's going to mean I'm not going to have any time with my kids so that I can have time with my kids in the future. Well, then that means that time with your kids today isn't actually a priority,
Yeah, it's not what you really want.
what you really want. But sometimes saying those things are really counter to what the culture says we're supposed to want. So that's to
Absolutely.
me the very, very first thing, right?
Yeah.
Is to get clear on that because otherwise we're headed. A phrase another friend uses is you're winning a game you didn't even want to play,
Wow.
right?
And I feel like, and when you can really get that level of clarity, it really does make your yeses so
So
much more
much
powerful and your no's so much
so
more
easy.
obvious because now I have a North Star. I now can ask myself, is this a good opportunity? No, because it's not getting me closer to what it is that I really want. Or, you know what I mean?
Right, right. And so to me, that's the first piece. And of course, that's also a key element in accountability is to actually know what are you really trying to go toward? Because
Yeah.
if not, you're not really ever gonna get there. The other piece of it is to cut something out. I don't know
Mm,
what it can be all sorts of things. But one of our goals when we're doing our quarterly planning with our clients is we ask them, we have a project process that we call do, delegate, and delete.
hmm.
And one of my goals with them every time is say, find one thing to delete,
Yeah.
to absolutely get rid of. And one of my clients has literally worked for me, I think, with me for I think 9 years now. She's been with me for forever. Long before we started this process, she was in the early test. I'd be like, she has seen it all. She's been through it all. And the last time we met, she said, I really struggled with delete because I've been doing this for so long. I've kind of deleted like practically everything. And she's also near retirement, so she's not working as much. There, she's got it's pretty streamlined. And then she smiled and she said, but I realized what I wanted to delete was worry.
Wow.
I'm going to, well, she's also very wise. And it was like, okay, that's also something you can delete. It's a different thing on your task list because you don't actually write down, hey, I need to take time to worry. But most of us do take time to worry most every day.
Mhm.
What if we deleted that? Right?
It's a
Be-
choice.
How much time would that save? How much time would we get back by deleting worry?
Wow, that's so good. So, Gwen, before we begin to wrap up and we talk about next steps for everyone, is there anything that you would like to leave us with? Any thoughts that you would like to leave us with?
I, you and I talked about it just briefly before, and I really think it's the most important thing. Success has to be defined individually.
Yeah.
And being really clear about what that means makes all of the other pieces work. Most of the time when I come across my clients, and I work exclusively with women entrepreneurs, when they're stressed out, it's because they are chasing someone else's definition of success,
Hmm.
right? But as soon as we're able to help them get realigned as to what's really clear for them, then it also becomes very clear. Well, then these are the six things I don't need to be doing anymore because they aren't lining up with my definition of success. And I
Yeah.
really think that's where the trick is. Like I said, it's one of these simple but not easy answers. It's simple to do. The definition is simple but easy. You're gonna have to put some effort into it, and it's good. From my own experience, I can verify it's going to be a mental struggle.
Yeah. In June, I was in a conversation with someone, and no, that's not accurate. I wasn't in a conversation with them. I was listening to something that they were saying. I think it might have been a workshop or a webinar or something of
Mhm.
that sort. And we were talking about business model. And she was talking about exactly what you're saying right now is that many of us need to really reevaluate and make a decision about what we really want our business model to consist of. And I spent a couple of days. I had some knee jerk reactions that I was like, probably was not going to be the smartest thing to go with. I probably needed to apply a 48-hour rule to it or something. But once I got really clear on the business model that I've done for the last 10 years, I don't see it as being sustainable for the next 10 years. And once I got really, really clear on what do I want for my business model, I was immediately able to delete a lot of things or modify a lot of things because then it
Mhm.
just no longer made sense for what it is that I determined that I really wanted. And so I can really resonate with what it is that you're saying. Like that level of clarity, even if you have to have somebody else help pull it out of you. Like if you're really struggling with I don't even know what to take into consideration or I can't even figure it out, like have someone ask you some questions or I don't care. Ask AI some ideas of what do I need to think about, to determine what it is that I really want
Right.
in this area. Because I can tell you, it's been so freeing. So much so that the first couple of weeks, I didn't know what to do with myself. I had so much, I'm not going to say I had free time because, time just it just gets filled in with other things
Right.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
probably had been neglecting or wanted to do. But I almost didn't know what to do with myself some days. I was looking around like, shouldn't I? Oh, I have to do. Oh, no, you don't have to do that anymore because you got real clear on what you wanted from a business model perspective. And now you no longer have to do some of those things. Now you're still doing all the things, but you're not doing some of all the things.
Well, exactly. And the thing that you're talking about there is reducing your own version of decision fatigue, right?
Yeah,
Because as you said, it becomes very easy to say this is a yes, this is a no. This is a yes, this is a no. And so there's not that hemming and hawing. I call it dithering, dithering over decisions, and you're able to just keep moving forward. And that's another space that we never realize until we have it. How much time, energy, effort, space that dithering process was taking until there's some real clarity, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, I've got so much more time.
right.
And it really is a lot about the energy that you have around it and not having to take so much time to make decisions because it does become clear. It is a game changer. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. Well, Gwen, I know that people are going to want more of you. And so if they want to follow you on social media, where are you the most active? Where do you want them to go?
So I live on LinkedIn. That is like the only place that I am at on any sort of regular basis. I am not a social media girl by nature at all. And you can find me at LinkedIn at Gwen Bortner. And I'm pretty sure I'm the only Gwen Bortner on LinkedIn. So just Gwen Bortner, search Gwen Bortner. You're gonna find me.
I think you're going to find her, Bortner, and I'll make sure that the link to that is in the show notes. And if people want to take things further with you, what would you like to offer?
Well, so I am always happy to have what I call a 30-minute clarity call. It is not a sales call. It really is about where am I? What am I doing? How do I process some of these things? And my goal is to give you one solid takeaway action that you can leave with. And assuming that you like that and you want to continue to work, then we can have a sales call later. But I want you to know what it's going to be like, because like I said, I ask really hard questions, and sometimes that's a little scary, and that can be okay.
And
And you
what
can do that just by getting onto the website and hit the contact page. Our website is everydayeffectiveness.com.
All right, everydayeffectiveness.com. I'll make sure that that is in the show notes as well. Well, Gwen, thank you so much. I knew that this was going to be a wonderful time together. You have dropped some nuggets. So, everyone, I hope that you will share this with every woman that you know who is a business owner. As a matter of fact, people can apply what it is that Gwen was saying, whether it's to their business, their
Oh
career,
yeah, to
their life.
anything.
It's applicable either way. So share this with every woman that you know. It's not that men don't struggle in this area, but I know we struggle with it more than they do. And I hope that you will go back and listen to previous and future episodes as well. Everyone, have a great day. Bye bye.
Thanks, Shayna.
You're welcome.